Hey Booktube, the Reading Outlaw here on Monday to do another Let's Talk video. I'm not entirely sure how long this one's going to be. I am not entirely sure where we're going to go with this, so just buckle in, grab some coffee if you'd like, some tea if that's your choice, a little bit of something adult if you are in a place where that's appropriate. Do not drink at work. It's my official disclaimer. But yeah, today's Let's Talk is going to be about reading as a social activity. This is something I've been kind of mulling over a lot lately, especially in the last couple of months, as I've been doing more and more buddy reads, and the opportunities come up to do more and more buddy reads, or read-alongs, or readathons, or any variety of other social reading events. And so I kind of wanted to talk about it because for the first 25 years of my life, reading was pretty much just kind of a solo activity. Luckily, my mom was super into books. And once I got into high school, I kind of had some other friends who were also pretty bookish. So I was able to talk about books with people in real life, but books as a thing and as an activity and as a hobby were always just a me thing. Oh, it's so good. It's not pumpkin spice, it's just hazelnut, just in case anybody's curious. So anyway, yeah, like I was saying, so for a long time it was just me and the books I was reading and the books themselves. And by the time I got into college, probably my second or third year at college, I realized that book blogs were a thing. I caught on to a couple of people on the internet who were writing about books. Several of those people now work for Book Riot, so that's kind of fun. I found Rebecca Jones-Shinsky and Jeff O'Neill and Amanda Nelson all blogging online, among others, including Eva from A Striped Armchair and, is it Jenny? I think her name is Jenny. Who runs a book blog that is now no longer on the internet. But anyway, I found several bloggers who were out there writing about the books they were reading and the lives they were living kind of at the same time. And it was the first time I'd ever really seen anybody do that in like a public forum or in a way that wasn't just like chatting with their friends about the books that they're reading. So that kind of opened my eyes to this ability for reading to be kind of this other social engagement, which I was thrilled about because as anybody who knows me in real life, or as maybe you've gathered through some of the videos we've done in the past, I am not always the most extroverted of people. Making IRL friends is not necessarily always something that's super easy for me or that I'm super good at. I am an introvert. I tend to want to be at home or in predictable places or going through predictable events. I'm not super big on surprise or new change. And so now learning that there was this thing out there that I could do that I was already doing so much of that I loved that could involve other people and that I could make friends through doing that really just wasn't ever something that had crossed my mind before. And so fast forward, another 6 or 7 years out of college, and I have found Booktube. I started if you go back to the very, very, very first videos that I made on my channel, there's maybe a dozen Booktube videos that I made a while ago. They were all young adult related because when I first got into Booktube, I kind of thought that's all it was, which is fine. And I'm a young adult librarian and I do a good chunk of young adult reading for work, but that's not really where my pleasure reading lies. And so the more I dug into Booktube and the longer I stuck around, the more I saw other people whose own interests were kind of connecting up to my own. And so now, today, here, I would think a fairly active, social reader. I'm not the best at Twitter. I am still learning. Twitter gurus, please use the comments to tell me all your secrets. But I am trying harder to participate. I am a part of several Voxer groups, a couple of which are just kind of general bookish chatter groups where we've all made good friends. The other ones are specifically related to books that I'm buddy reading at the moment or ongoing series that I've been buddy reading. I have a Malazan chat that's been open for months and months and months as the various members and I kind of all read through the books for the first time. Then there's also people who have read the books before who can kind of lend their expertise which is more than necessary for Malazan. Speaking of which, here it is, guys. Starting it today. I told the people in my Voxer group as an accountability measure that I was going to start Memories of Ice today. And here it is. Haven't started it yet, but the day is young. So it's happening. But yeah, and so I got more and more involved, and I'm getting more and more involved in the social reading. And I had to pull back. I had to pull back a little bit. I was supposed to buddy read Evelina by Frances Burney this month, and that's just not going to happen. I just have a little bit too much else going on. And so that plus, you know, like I said, I've just been kind of thinking about reading as a social activity. And I think it's really interesting because it's so much of it is still an individualistic act. Like I can come to you, and I love having friends that I can go to now from all across the world to say, I know we're reading this book. Here's this thing that just happened. Let's talk about the gender. Let's talk about the way the women are treated. Let's talk about the way the dialogue is handled in XYZ. And it's really, really amazing to have a venue to go to discuss those things. But on the other hand, reading is still primarily a solo act. At the end of the day, it's just me and the page, or me and the words in my ears, or whatever, me and the screen, like whatever format that I'm reading in, it's just me. And so I think that part of what not what I struggle with, but part of kind of the disconnect for me is that it's still just me at the end of the day. And so sometimes I feel like I'm not participating the most fully in these social interactions because I may not have something to say, like as opposed to like a group shared experience or a group collective memory. Each one of us brings our own interactions with the text to the group, which is amazing. Like I said, I don't want any part of this video to sound like I'm not completely and 100% happy with that aspect or with that part of what's going on. But I still just feel like so much of it is just me. It's almost like being alone in a crowd. And I think I'm okay with that. And I think I prefer it that way. Because the books are my friends, guys. They're my friends. And interacting with them personally and one-on-one is something that I get a great deal of enjoyment out of. And it's something that brings me calm. Like getting to sit with a book is my chosen method of stress release. But it's interesting because sometimes when the social aspect comes into it, that's when we get into different realms of like pressure, and it's all me. It's all self-generated, but I find myself not picking up XYZ in order to read more for the buddy read that I'm doing, or in order to read so that I can vote on Booktube SFF, or because this read along is coming up, but it's of this other book in the series and I haven't read the first book yet. So then I feel like I kind of have to read the first book. And the social aspect brings in a lot more of those shoulds and have tos for me, than just reading by myself, than being able to go, you know what, I'm going to read whatever I want or whenever I want. I'm going to start a million things and not finish them. I'm going to finish a million things and not start anything new. And so there's kind of that pressure aspect that comes in when we do reading as a social thing. And you know, I mean, it is what it is. It's just, I think, a thing that happens when people get together to do a thing and they all want to do the thing at relatively the same time. You know, you don't want to be that person who's not, I don't want to say pulling their weight, because it's not really a pulling their weight thing. I've never been in one of those scenarios where it's like a project or somebody feels like they have to do it, or they're going, like the group is going to forget them or move on without them. But there's kind of an informal pressure that you want to keep up and that you want to keep going with the group. And so I think for me, and I think part of the reason I need to make this video is just for myself to kind of say that I think I'm letting the pendulum swing a little bit too far. And I do this. This is something I do. I go, you know, I'm not the best at knowing my own limits, and that I will say yes to a million things and then realize after I've already done that, or when I'm in the middle of it, like, whoa, that was too much for my personality. I need to chill out. That needs to not happen. So I think that that's kind of the conclusion that I'm coming to with reading as a social activity, is that it's amazing, but that I need to kind of slow my roll and figure out a good balance between reading for me and reading for group interactions and socially and all of these things. And I think it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a little balance. I think because I didn't know it was a world that existed for so long, I just want to jump in feet first and swim in that world regardless of X, Y, or Z. And that's great, but I just need to remind myself that will always be there. Now that I know that there are people out there like that, I will always be able to find people who want to read something with me or who will listen as I talk about something that I'm reading. So I just need to chill out, do me, and take a breath. So yeah, that was my really kind of long thoughts on reading as a group activity, on my reading as a social outlet. If you guys have comments or questions, if I buddy read with you, I don't want you to think in any capacity that I'm just going to leave or quit or that I'm not 100% thrilled. I just think, like I said, for me, I just need to realize that balance is key in all things, and that includes reading and socializing. So yeah, comment down below if you have thoughts on the matter. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys around the internet. Bye.